I'm going to say something that apparently becomes controversial the second you say it. I think women should have access to their own money. Yes, even married women. And I'm not saying this because I think every marriage is going to fail. I'm not saying that women should go into marriage already planning their escape. And I'm definitely not saying that earning money makes a woman superior to a woman who's choosing to stay home. I'm saying it because there is a big difference between being provided for and being incapable of providing for yourself. And I think that financial helplessness should never, ever be romanticized as femininity. Recently, my mom told me about a story that she saw online of a woman who was able to escape with her child and build her own life because she made money online, mainly through YouTube. And my brain immediately went to all the messages that I've received over the years. Women who aren't necessarily saying, I don't want to leave because I love him. Sometimes it's, where would I even go? How would I pay for everything? And I've never worked before. Everything is in his name. And that's when money stops being about handbags, holidays, and some massive salary. Sometimes having money means having options. And this is where I think some people mix culture, masculinity, femininity, and Islam into some giant pot. Listen, a Muslim woman possessing wealth is not some modern day invention. The Quran explicitly gives women their own inheritance shares. The Quran also tells husbands to give women their dowries, and if she chooses to give some of it away, it has to be willingly from her. There's also the narration of Zainab, wife of Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu anha, who had wealth and was spending on her husband and the orphans under her care. She asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, whether the spending counted as charity, and he affirmed it. And in Sahih Muslim, there is a narration about a divorced woman who was criticized for going out during her waiting period to tend to her date palms. So she asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, about it, and he told her that she could go and harvest them, perhaps so she could give charity or do good with the proceeds. So the idea of a Muslim woman owning, earning, managing, or using her wealth is not something we suddenly invented now. And sometimes when you say a Muslim woman should understand money or know how to earn, someone immediately says, why? But her husband is supposed to provide. Okay, you're not wrong because those two ideas don't really contradict each other. A woman being married to a man who takes his responsibility seriously does not automatically require her to be financially incompetent. Those are completely different things. And I'm intentionally not turning this video into a detailed fiqh video talking about every financial responsibility inside marriage. That is a separate conversation. And if we are discussing religious rulings in detail, I would rather someone go to a person who is qualified to have that conversation. I am talking about capability. Do you understand money? Can you budget? Do you know how the household finances work? Do you have a skill? Can you earn if circumstances change? Do you know how to access money and important documents in the state of an emergency? Because even if we remove toxic marriages, people can die, people can get sick, people can lose their jobs, economies change, families can go through unexpected situations, life happens. So, knowing how to support yourself is a life skill. And I think that's another misconception. Whenever I say have something of your own, I'm not saying every Muslim woman needs a corporate career and a six-figure salary. Maybe it's qualifications, a skill, a business you occasionally work on. Maybe it's savings. Maybe you know how to freelance. Maybe you know bookkeeping. Maybe you create content. Just having something you could return to if you needed it. Or maybe you just understand your own household finances instead of being completely removed from them. I personally just don't like the idea of a grown woman reaching a point where she genuinely believes, if this person disappeared tomorrow, I would have no idea how to survive. I don't know about you, but I do not find that romantic. And this idea that making your own money suddenly makes you masculine, I genuinely don't understand it. If a woman enjoys being taken care of, beautiful. If a man loves providing, even more beautiful. If she decides to be a homemaker and that is something that genuinely fulfills her, beautiful. None of these require her to be helpless. Dependence and femininity are not synonyms. And independence doesn't have to mean I don't need anybody. I think that's another extreme, honestly. We all need people, okay? We humans need connection. That's how humans thrive. So family matters, community matters, marriage means partnership. But there's a huge difference between I choose to build a life with you and I absolutely have no choice but to remain here because I cannot survive without you. Those are not the same kind of dependence. And I also want to explain where some of my perspective on this comes from because I don't want to just sit here and tell you, learn more about money without explaining what it has looked like for me. So, for the past few years, I have spent a lot of time around financial education, business, investing, sales, marketing, and eventually content creation. And I'm not saying that because I think I have money figured out. I'm still learning so much. But one thing those experiences have given me is the confidence to stop treating money like a complicated subject that only certain people are supposed to understand. I learned how to look at numbers, learned about investing, about how businesses make money. I learned sales, marketing, how to create content. And I would say the most important thing that I learned is that eventually a skill can become an income source. Content creation is a perfect example. So years ago, I wasn't thinking that I'm going to develop this into something that brands will eventually want to pay me for. I was simply learning how to create. And now, filming, editing, storytelling, understanding social media, building an audience are actual skills I have. This is why when I tell women to have something of your own, I don't necessarily mean go find a traditional job tomorrow. I mean build capability because the more things you know how to do, the more options you create for yourself. And actually, I asked you guys on my Instagram story about what conversations you wanted me to have on YouTube, and some of you all replied with financial tips, investment tips, and where should a woman even start. So I don't want to make an entire video saying learn about money, build a skill, be financially capable, and then leave you with absolutely no idea what to do after you close YouTube. So for my women who have stayed this long, here are some practical things I would start with. Before investing, starting a business, or trying to become rich, know what is actually happening with the money you already have. How much comes in, how much goes out, what are your fixed expenses, what are you spending on without realizing it? How much would you realistically need every month to take care of yourself? Now, you do not need a fancy, complicated spreadsheet with 17 formulas. Even just writing your monthly income with your expenses is a start. You cannot manage numbers that you refuse to look at. This is probably the biggest one for me. And please don't hear the word skill and think you need another university degree. Maybe you are good at editing, graphic design. Maybe you're good at being organized and doing administrative work. Maybe you're good at bookkeeping, tutoring. Maybe you're good in sales. Maybe you're good at social media or taking pictures or sewing or baking. Maybe you are learning a trade, or maybe you will eventually build a business. There are so many ways skills can become income, and you don't have to monetize everything immediately. Sometimes the first step is to become good at something useful, because if your circumstances ever change, you're not starting with absolutely nothing. You are going to have something you know how to do. This part is especially for the women that want to be homemakers, because I don't want anything I've said in this video to sound like I'm telling you not to be one. Because if being a homemaker is genuinely the life that you want, beautiful. Now, if you don't already do this, please try to understand the finances of the households that you are living in. Know what bills exist, how much do things approximately cost, understand banking, understand credit, understand your own account, know where to access money in the state of an emergency, and know what the important documents are in the household. You don't have to be the person paying every bill to know how the bills work. Being provided for should not require being completely removed from financial reality. When people hear financial independence, they immediately jump into investing. However, I actually think that investing should come after you understand the basics. Don't invest money into something because someone on social media told you this is going to explode. Don't invest because you are scared of missing out. Understand what you're buying, the risk, the fees, the diversification, and understand which investments can go down as well as up. And as Muslims, we have another layer to think about. Don't assume an investment is halal just because everyone around you is investing in it. If you need religious guidance, go to people that have education in Islamic finance. So basically, do your research as well. Your money should make sense to you before you hand it over to an investment. Because I think sometimes people believe when I make more, then I will budget, then I will save, then I will learn. But making more money doesn't automatically teach you financial discipline. Learning to manage what you have now is part of preparing yourself to handle more later. And if you're watching this thinking, okay, but where do I actually start? Start really small. After this video, open your notes app and write down three things. Number one, how much money do I currently have coming in? Number two, where is my money currently going? Number three, what is one skill I could spend the next few months getting genuinely good at? That's it. You don't need to figure out investing, build a business, or become financially independent by next Tuesday. Trust me, I've been there. Just figure out where you are first. If you want one more practical step, choose a small amount that you can realistically save every month and move it separate from your spending habits. I'm telling you, the number matters less than building the habit. And if you're a woman watching this and you still don't know genuinely where to start, you can message me on Instagram at Manalabrar. I obviously cannot teach an entire financial education program through DMs. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm always happy to help what I have personally learned, point you toward things that have helped me, or give you a starting direction if I can. Because I feel like sometimes the hardest part isn't doing the work, it's literally just figuring out what the first step is. So, yes, I do think women should know how money works, develop skills. I think we should understand our finances. And I also think that having personal savings or the ability to earn can be incredibly valuable. Not because we are preparing for our marriages to fail, but because being capable is not the same thing as being distrustful. And having money doesn't make a woman less feminine. It doesn't automatically make her less respectful of her husband. It doesn't mean that she suddenly doesn't need anybody. Sometimes it simply means she has options. And I would like to hear from women on this one. Do you think that every woman should have some form of financial capability of her own, even if she chooses to be a full time homemaker? And men can answer too, because I'm genuinely curious where people land on this. Subscribe because I'm just starting to have these conversations, and I will see you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.